So after 65 hours of watching all the other Marvel Netflix series, we're finally here. The Defenders is here. 8 episodes of this epic, hyped up thing that we've been waiting years for. Does it succeed? Let's get into this. What is up, guys? My name is Zach. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe this video. I do movie reviews and all that all on this channel, but this is a TV review, and we're talking about that today because I'm a big Marvel fan. Big Marvel fan. And I loved what they've been doing with the Netflix series so far, especially Daredevil and Jessica Jones. Those are 2 of my favorite series on here, but I do appreciate what Luke Cage and Iron Fist has also been doing. I do enjoy both of those. I'm not an Iron Fist hater. I do recognize some of the problems in that show, but I definitely did not hate that show like some others did. But the thing about the Defenders is I was so hyped about the Defenders. And for perspective, I want you guys to know, this will mostly be a non-spoiler review. If you don't want to know anything about the Defenders, here's my perspective already. I really like this show. I'm going to go into some details, not spoilers. I might get into some spoilers towards the end, and I will warn you when that happens, but overall, this will be a very non-spoiler review, so I'm going to talk about some stuff. And pretty much the Defenders, we've been waiting for them all to build up to this final moment of this 8-episode saga, and the showrunners for the show are actually from Daredevil Season 2, which made me really excited because I love Daredevil Season 2. Seeing them come over made me it made me really excited to see what they can do with the Defenders, having them all team up. And also say for this, I'm very happy with what they did with the series overall. There are some gripes I have with it. There are some complaints I have with the show, but we'll get into those in a second. But pretty much the story centers around, the Defenders. They all live in New York, and there's a problem with New York is that the Hand, who this main enemy who's been kind of behind the scenes for most of the episodes of all the other shows, is finally rising, and Sigourney Weaver plays the main antagonist for the Hand. She is the main leader of all the Hands, and she's the one leading this assault to destroy New York City, because there's something underneath New York City that I kind of totally forgot about, and it's cool that they brought that back, because they kind of built it up from Season 1 in Daredevil, and now Season 2 in Daredevil, and now we're here. And she brings back to life Elektra and brings her in here to help her stop, one, the Defenders from helping anyone, and also to stop New York. A lot of intrigue to this whole story as well. It seems like a typical Avengers story or a typical Justice League story you would hear about, but it's not. And that's what I really appreciated about this, is you get 8 episodes. That's pretty much 8 hours of getting this put together the story of the Defenders. And in Avengers, you only have like 2.5 hours, and you can't really flesh out anyone. You can't really give any more backstory to anyone. It's really much just get to the point, get this going, and get the story into the way and defeat the villain. Defenders takes its time very slowly, because I'll tell you this, the first few episodes are very slow paced, and it's a slow burn. I appreciate that, like a lot of the other Netflix Marvel shows have been. They've all been slow burns, and especially this one a lot. But once it gets going, once all the characters are finally together, that's when the show really comes together. I'll say for the first episode, I did not like the first episode. I appreciated it, but I felt like it was very cheap with how they started it. I liked how they mixed all the tones together, because a lot of the other tones, as dark and gritty as the other shows were and all together, it makes for a very dark and gritty Marvel universe, as gritty as you can get for an MCU. I was really not a fan of how they edited the episode. I felt like it was just a prologue to the show, and it really seemed like anything that how all the other seasons ended, mostly Luke Cage and Iron Fist, they just tied up like that with a snap of your fingers, and it was very jarring to me. I was not expecting that. I was really much expecting for them to have a bigger outpush. I mean, spoilers for Luke Cage, but at the end of Luke Cage, he goes to jail, and by the beginning of this, he's already out. And I mean, yeah, timing and stuff, but I felt like it was going to be longer. I didn't know what to expect from that, and I do appreciate that they just got to the point, but it could have taken a little bit longer to make it not feel as cheap, because for me it felt cheap. It felt cheap on how they started getting everything together. But I mean, that's only the first episode. Then the second episode kicks in, then the third episode, and it just got honestly better and better and better till the last episode, I would say. But overall, like through the whole thing, after the first episode, I was really hooked into the series. I was hooked on where every character was going. I was hooked on every single scene in here. And I have to say, every actor does a phenomenal job in here. Jessica Jones, Kristen Ritter, she's one of probably my favorites in this whole show overall. I just like her attitude, and I loved her in Jessica Jones. Kristen Ritter is one of my favorite actresses right now, and I just loved her in Breaking Bad, and seeing her being Jessica Jones is awesome, and she does a fantastic job in Defenders. Seeing her chemistry bounce off the new people, because we've already seen her with Luke Cage, but it's cool to see her bounce off of Annie and Matt's whole element stuff. That's awesome. See how she feels about the Hand, how she's like, this is fucking stupid. Like, I'm not gonna believe in this. And then I also liked how seeing Matt Matt Murdock. I liked seeing his element back and forth with them, and also giving a big shout out to Charlie Cox. I thought he did some of the most emotional scenes I think his character's had for the whole span that we've seen him, and I think he honestly is the true iteration of Daredevil. I find him to be such a phenomenal Daredevil, and I loved his performance in Defenders. And I also have to give a big shout out to Finn Jones, who plays Danny Rand. You know, people give him shit in Iron Fist, and I'll say this, I warmed up to him playing the character. I thought he got better throughout the season. Same thing here. When I first saw him, I was like, I like what he's doing as Iron Fist. I like him as Iron Fist, but it felt like the material still wasn't there. Once he's in with the core group, I believe his material a little bit more. I think it's just how the character is written is why I don't necessarily love the character. But once he's with that core group, I really started digging him a lot, and especially him and Luke Cage's elements. I thought Mike Coulter did a fantastic job with his dynamic with Iron Fist, and a lot of the back and forth between them was awesome. And I know in the comics they have this Hero for Hire, and I would love to see both their shows collide and make the Hero for Hire show, maybe like a season 3, season 4 of both those shows. But it was awesome to see their dynamics and their friendship beginning in the show. So Stick shows up here. Scott Glenn. I've always loved how Stick is, and especially in here, he has some really good scenes. He has 2 scenes in particular. One of the best ones was right when you first get the introduction back to his character in the Defenders. I'm not going to spoil it, but it is so good. I love just the back and forth Stick has with the people in it, and it's just awesome to see, and you guys are going to love that scene if you guys haven't seen it yet. I did say Elektra is back. Aloyda Young plays her again, and I've loved Elektra in Daredevil Season 2. I loved seeing her back in here. I thought she did a really good job with this scene. I thought she had a lot of good elements in here, and some of the fighting styles they gave her in this one, I thought Daredevil Season 2 had some great fighting styles with her, but I thought she was even better in this one. Of course, Sigourney Weaver, I don't want to forget about her. I found her character awesome. I really wish they used her a little bit more. I felt a little underwhelmed by her character in some senses for being such a big actress. I felt like she could have gotten a little more to do, but I overall really appreciated her character, and I liked where they were going with it. Towards the end of it, I just kind of like fell off the train of her hype, and I was like, really? That's it? It was kind of disappointing to see that. I think the main thing I do want to claim in here is that Iron Fist, for me, had some of the weakest fighting scenes. Same with Luke Cage and same with Jessica Jones. I never found those fight scenes to be awesome. I always found Daredevil to have the best fight scenes overall, and Defenders is probably right under Daredevil Season 2. I found this action scene here awesome. Sometimes the cinematography was a little iffy, and sometimes the scenes were a little too dimly dark, and I didn't really like the scenes, but there are some scenes in here that are fantastic. Some scenes that gave me some goosebumps and gave me a shock and awe and reminded me of the scene from the Avengers when they're all circling around, and it gave me feelings of that where I get shock and awe of seeing all the Defenders together. The first time you get to see them all fighting together is awesome, and that's when I was getting goosebumps, and that's probably the best action scene in here. I think it was like in episode 3 or 4, but it was so good, and that doesn't give any flack to any of the other action scenes in here. It was just the first time actually seeing them all together fight, and it was cool to see it all culminate together to just be this awesome thing that we've been waiting to see. And like I said, it gave me goosebumps because it gave me those memories of when I first saw the Avengers fighting together on the big screen. It was awesome to see. It was great build up to that moment, and that scene, just the choreograph in that scene was just off the walls fantastic. I loved seeing Iron Fist and how he was actually going. I like that he used his chi a little bit more in here. That was my one complaint with Iron Fist. He didn't use his fist a lot. In this one, he uses it, and I so love that. And I loved how they gave Jessica Jones and Luke Cage some better action scenes in here. Like, they're fighting pretty much a lot of ninjas, and they're like, does everyone know Kung Fu? And it's funny because it seems like that everyone likes Kung Fu, but it's cool because if the guys have guns, Luke Cage can get in the way and bounce the bullets off him, and then they can take him down. It's just cool to see the dynamic and how they kind of use their moves. It's kind of like playing a video game, and when it's kind of Marvel Ultimate Alliance, when you're playing that and you play as these other characters and you start mixing their powers together to hit and fight, it's cool to see that dynamic in here. And it's just like I said, you see that in the Avengers, but you also see it in Defenders, and it's awesome to see. Overall, I really did enjoy the Defenders. I found a lot to love in here. My big complaints about it are all really much spoilers. I think the only one I can really talk about is towards the end, there's one fight scene, and this is a very, very minor gripe. I don't know why, but I just found a very minor gripe in this, and it's when they're fighting in this cave, and they're all going around a circle, and you see them all fighting, and it's this very heroic score going on, and then it switches to Wu-Tang Clan, very abruptly, and I didn't really appreciate that. If they would have started out with Wu-Tang Clan, I would have dug it. I would have thought, that's pretty damn cool, keep going with it, but it just felt very jarring to me, and maybe the second time I watched that scene, maybe I will appreciate it again, but I just found that very jarring, and I was caught back, I was like, whoa. totally changed the theme of what's going on in this episode. But I like the way that goes, and I do think the ending was a little coy for where every character is going. It did set it off into a point where it sets off to the next seasons of each person's show. But I can say I'm excited for another Defenders series, and I'm excited to see what they do. I hope we do get a season 2. I'm assuming we will, but hopefully you don't have to wait too long. Hopefully they bring in some other people, maybe a Punisher into this, and maybe we also get maybe a Moon Knight or something. Like, bring in some other characters, add into this world, and bring more Defenders in here, because it was awesome to see where these characters go, and I'd love to meet up again and fight and talk and communicate. And it was just, I want to see that again, and I can't wait to see a season 2 of Defenders. And with all that said, I'm gonna give Defenders season 1 a B+. Well, let me get into my spoilers. I do have some spoilers I want to talk about, so if you've seen this, you haven't finished it, come back later. Here are my main things with this. Is Sigourney Weaver dies. The main villain that they build up dies in like episode 6, and that was really disappointing to me, because I was digging her character, and Elektra just kills her, and she's like, I'm in charge now. And it reminded me of the problem that I have with Luke Cage, is when Cottonmouth died, I didn't really get into the show anymore, because I felt Diamondback and the other girl, I don't even remember her name, I just felt I was like, okay, like, I didn't really believe in their villains, and as much as I love Elektra, I was more on board with Sigourney being the main leader and just seeing all that. I was not a fan of that, and it was really jarring to me. Like I said, it's such a minor complaint, but it's something I have to address because it did really irritate me. And I've already kind of said the music thing that irritated me at the fight scenes, and some of the fight scenes were a little bit dimmed and could have been a bit better, I thought. But overall, like, I really enjoyed the show. And the other big problem I have with the show is the way it ends. I appreciate where every character went, but fine. Like, there's no repercussions to this, which is insane because they blew up a fucking building. That's where my repercussions come for the show, is that I didn't understand how there was no really big repercussions. I mean, it shows that Daredevil and Elektra died. Okay, awesome, they died, but then at the end you see Daredevil come back, which was a cool scene, because I like how they said Mother Maggie, which I'm assuming is actually going to be Daredevil's mother, if you know from the comics. But I also like that, and I hope they kept Elektra alive. I hope they just didn't bring her back to kill her off again. I think that would be kind of cheap, and I'd love to see where her character goes, especially after the events of the Defenders. I hope they kept her alive. I would assume, since Charlie Cox is alive, I will assume that her character is also alive as well, but it's time will tell when we get to see Daredevil season 3. I think that's next year, so I'm really hoping that we get to see Elektra back. I don't want to lose out on her character. I think the other big thing I liked about this is I liked seeing that most of the supporting characters from the other shows came in here as well, especially Misty Knight. I loved her character, even though she was a tad annoying sometimes, and so was Foggy and Karen, but I still dug their characters. They were just a little bit annoying at times because they were like, oh, we have to help Matt, but we can't. And then Misty was like, I need to know what's going on, but they're telling them, you can't, you just gotta understand this. And it's like, you kind of understand them. Like, they're fucking superheroes. Like, get that under their way. And I liked Misty Knight where she went in this, because she did lose her arm, and then her and Colleen Wing had some really good dynamics in there, which I know in the comics they have a really good friendship, and plus in the comics Misty Knight gets a robotic arm. Will they do that in the show? Hopefully, maybe. I really like that. Like I said, there's a lot to love in Defenders, and there's a lot of comic callbacks, I would say, that make you really excited to see what for the future of the Netflix Marvel series will go. I really do think this got it back on pace, and I do think this is one of the better Netflix Marvel series. It's not the best, but I was expecting a lot more, and I think my hype kind of got in the way of how much I enjoyed the series. Overall, like I said, I'm really excited for a season 2, and I want to see where all these characters go, especially in the next season. I think after Punisher in November, I think we are getting Jessica Jones in early 2018, so that's very exciting to me to see that we're finally getting another season of hers. And then I think from there, I'm assuming we're probably going to get Luke Cage or Daredevil after that. And like I said, I'm really excited to see where they go with this. Hopefully we don't have to wait too long to see them all back on the big screen together. But I really enjoyed this. I hope you guys did as well. But comment down below and tell me, what did you guys think of Defenders? Like I said, minor gripes in here. I really appreciate a lot of the things. I just wanted to say some spoilers that I didn't want to necessarily say in my non-spoilers part. And I just wanted to talk about that. Like I said, minor gripes. B+ from me. I really enjoyed this, but what would you guys rank this? Comment down below and tell me, please. Can't wait to talk about it. And if I do decide, I might actually do a full spoilers panel on this if some of my friends actually want to get together and do that. We'll see about that. No promises on that, but I also will be coming out with a ranking video of all the Netflix series tomorrow, so look out for that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, stay classy and have a great rest of your guys' day.